I hope you enjoy the content. I just want to let you guys know that I'm not here to help anybody make money trading, or save you money trading or anything like that. I'm just here giving you guys my take on the markets. Understand, not a registered investment advisor, and nothing we say or do here should be misconstrued as investment advice. Please seek a professional for that type of stuff and read the disclaimers both on our website and on this video.
Yeah.
Ordered Phil, check us out.
You know what time it is.
This is Mighty Soldiers exclusive.
Yeah. Let's get it. Let's get it.
What's up, guys? Andy with Mighty Soldiers Trades. Anyways, guys, we had a little bit of a glitch there on my end, and I could not hear the intro going on, so I didn't even know my timing, but I'm here, and I'm really happy to have you guys here with us today. We have a really special guest, and you guys, I'm not even going to mess around. I'm just going to bring on the CEO of Trade Ideas, the godfather of the community, Dan Mirkin. How you doing today, Dan?
Andy, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you very much for such a gracious introduction. I'm so happy to be on the show with you and to kind of tell people a little bit of our story. And you, by the way, I want to tell you, I'm going to give you a 10 out of 10 from the European judges on the disclaimer. Oh, that was some powerful disclaiming there. And I'd like to say that for my own disclaiming, instead of disclaiming it myself, I just like to reiterate Andy's disclaimer. What an amazing disclaimer. Let's go right ahead.
Yeah, so Leah and many people have given me a compliment on just busting into the show, Dan, and not even messing around, just getting to it. So I figured, that is the easiest way that relieves the most amount of stress from me. So I'm with it, man. I'm good. So
we can go as far down the rabbit hole as you like, but I always think, like, just as a nice intro, we should keep it pretty level-headed at first, and maybe you can tell people a little bit about how you even got heard of Trade Ideas, because we've been around since 2003, probably one of the longest running privately held fintech companies in the USA.
Okay, so basically, Dan, how I heard of Trade Ideas, this is why I say godfather of the community. All the work you guys have put in has made it possible for me and all of us to have this community that we love so much. I'm not saying that all the work is there, in your lap, but you did a whole bunch of it. And I think that a lot of these companies out here should be thanking you for what you did. And the reason I say that is how I found you guys. Every single trading educator that there was available, when you typed in how to day trade or anything like that, everything came right back to Trade Ideas. Your affiliate program, your summits that you put on, your social media posts. I mean, basically everything from Tim Sykes, Clay Trader on down the line, Mad Ads, like just anywhere you want to look, there you guys were. So, as far as finding you, it wasn't very difficult.
I really appreciate you saying that. One of the things that, you and I are going to be talking about is how important it is to me as a foundation element to lead by example. And I think in this space, it's very difficult to lead if you're not actually a trader. And we know that happens a lot in business. Businesses want professionals to do things and run things professionally. I'm not sure what that means, because I don't think that applies to me. But my background, I started trading in the mid-90s. I just finished college at the University of Texas in Austin, Texas. So I'm a Longhorn. Hook 'em horns. Love Austin. And what people don't realize is who are traders. And I'm saying this because I think there's a lot of stereotypes that people have about these guys in New York that are in suits and stuff like that. But when I got to the trading firms in Texas and just in Austin, where I lived in the mid-90s, there were approximately 7 firms. So think about this, 7 firms for day trading competing with one another in a very short, small area. Obviously, the technology in the mid-90s, you had to trade in an office, and they would run what's called, T lines in there, T3 sometimes, to get really fast internet. But the point being is that traders' mentality was a very, what I would say, conservative, independent mentality. These are the kind of guys that you could see playing poker really well, like working a ranch, understanding like the different elements of a business, all the components, because they're been self-directed all their lives. And I was like, wow, this really is a different, stereotype than what I had initially thought I would see in a trading firm. Then you realize that how much you learn about someone's mentality, their ability to control pressure situations, control their anger. It all comes out on the trading floor. And me, I was 23 years old at the time. I'm 52 right now. Still look exactly the same. There's still just a tiny bit of gray right here only, but otherwise, I done this 23 me right here. Not 23 and me that tries to steal your genetics, but the 23 me looks the same. So that's how I got into the business, Andy. And what was kind of cool about me, I have, energetically speaking, in my life, I've never quite been necessarily, let's say, the best. I was never like the fastest and all that kind of shit. Although, I played hockey, loved sports, and I was never the fastest. But what I'm really good at is being at the right place at the right time. Like, I control flow situations, and some of the moves I make are sort of 5 steps beyond what people might think. But that's sort of been a gift of mine all my life. And trading, it's something that, when I got into it in Austin, I was around a group of people who were building this software product called CyberTrader. Have you ever heard of that? Back in
I have, but I don't really remember much anymore.
No, we're talking about the year 1999. And it's all out of Austin, Texas. And they basically became the dominant software product in the Southwest to mid US, not in New York, but basically everywhere else around the USA for day trading. Because at that time, day trading was starting to really take off. E-Trade had just gone public. Ameritrade had just gone public. So people were just sort of waking up to the fact that, hey, you can be your own boss and do this trading stuff. And we were right approaching the .com kind of search engine bubble where prices would go nuts, so we've sort of got to see it all. And in this particular case, hold on one second, Andy.
No problem at all, man.
So in this particular case, you're just getting to see market data and situations live that you might have, I think, just otherwise never got to see. And all of that gets inculcated from my own experience into the Trade Ideas product. That's kind of what I'm trying to say, is that through, when I was younger and I saw like, what makes somebody a good trader isn't the obvious thing. It's not always the dude who's like the super built or, somebody who is very angry, but a lot of times it's like the calm person that's able to like control themselves. And you can imagine them being in like a boardroom the same way. How are you under, like, let's say you get pulled over by a cop and you have to take a drunk driving test. I think that's sort of mentally what it feels like for people to get into a trade when they've never done it before. And people realize that that's the feeling that you have, and you're like, oh shit, I got some money on the line. I've got to wait a minute. And we in Trade Ideas, since we started, we've always said we've got to create a technology and innovate technologically in a way that enhances someone's experience the way we would want it. Because again, we were there the whole time. When I was saying about CyberTrader, remember, those guys got bought out for $500 million in the year 2000. Okay, that was the biggest transaction that had ever been seen in that type of, in the retail brokerage technology space. It was just unheard of. Schwab was in panic mode. They thought, well, shit, if these guys go public, they'll just start attracting accounts because we've got nothing basically, from the exciting trading point of view. And just took them out, bought them, $500 million. That guy who was in charge of the software company, he stuck around for like a year and a half, retired, and I think doesn't even know what the stock market looks like anymore. But yours truly, your favorite CEO of FinTech, I still love the stock market. I've never made $500 million, but might do even better. However, this whole time, I kind of saw what happened there, and that made me think, wow, I can maybe do something like that. So I went to California, kind of like the Beverly Hillbillies, moved to California. We raised some money and we did a technology company that was supposed to take over the brokerage space, and then 9/11 happened. And this is 2001, coming off of the people knew who I was and the whole cyber trader deal. So they wanted to work with me and wanted to help me, kind of develop the next big thing. And then 9/11, boom, the whole industry dried up. And this is where we learned personally that if you can make a business without venture capital, that is the only way to do it, because ultimately you need to control your timeline. You need to be able to handle how you spend money, how you pay people. Sometimes you need to push on the accelerator. Sometimes you need to push on the brakes. But the venture capital space has no mercy. You're allowed like 1/4 of bullshit. Okay, but sometimes crazy stuff like COVID, that's like 2 years and everything completely, different than what you would, let's say, hypothetically suspect or expect, right? And so we were very lucky, and we pivoted in 2001 to Trade Ideas, launched the product, and we've been doing it ever since. But at the end of the day, I've always known I love trading and I'm pretty good at it. And I show people some of that stuff right here. Andy, I personally do not know of other people there are other very good traders on Twitter, don't get me wrong. But there's no CEOs of a company that do the thing that they vend for their customer. And that's what I want people to think about when they think about who should you buy a subscription for. It's very easy to create something that maybe seems valuable, but what about really the actual reps of producing alpha? And that's what I was doing today when I was showing you my Tupperware trade. For anybody who's listening in, and you should follow me on Twitter at Trade Ideas. Super easy to follow. But I post a lot of my trades there because I want people to see that I practice what I preach. I cover immense amount of topics on my Twitter, and it's certainly not for the part.
Hold on, Dan. So one thing though, anybody that was listening to Dan's podcast with Confessions of a Market Maker, Dan just gave you his Twitter. I know at the end of that podcast, I believe that you withheld that information, said they weren't ready for your Twitter. So anybody that was listening to that podcast, and if you have not checked out that podcast yet, definitely go do it. Great information. Might have some repeats here, but it's all awesome.
Yeah, and I try to keep it entertaining because, look, I got to be honest with you guys, and I don't want you to think the wrong way, but my mindset gives me opportunities to see things that other people just might not see, because I'm the only that I'm aware of flat earth fintech CEO in all of the world, open about it. At least I'm sure there could be a couple of hidden ones. And so think about that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm an adult. I'm CEO of a company, and up until 2016, I was just like everybody else. But then something big happened where I realized that I've been lied to about everything. And the more research I'd done, and the more I realized, Andy, how much that actually reflected on the fact that when I was a younger man in Austin, I first got into trading. Let me tell you what I thought about trading and work and why I love trading so much. So I walk into this trading office. There's like 40 dudes behind monitors, back in the time with thick ones, the CRT monitors. And dudes are like in baseball caps backwards, comfortable, just doing what they're doing. And I'm looking at some numbers. Okay. Remember, I was trading then when fractions were in the world and you traded in 1,000 share lots. So if every time you were looking for a quarter of a point, if you got it right, that was $250. So it's a totally different game now, but we did that. Now I'm seeing some of the numbers that people were putting up, and I see this guy's P&L and he's up like 20 grand. Remember, this is 1994 at this time. And I'm thinking like a guy who just finished college, has got my accounting degree from University of Texas. And I'm like, okay, well, like starting salary is like 35 G's. And this guy made 20 grand right there. And he's wearing a baseball cap and he's dipping in a cup the whole day. I'm like, okay, I need to reevaluate my perceptions of monetary, flow. And those were the big changes for me. This is what you see from our tech, thinking in a different way. And again, and I love the fact that you don't have to believe everything that I believe, certainly. But what I do is I put up my P&L and I say, if my newly acquired belief system was so crazy and terrible, how come I'm able to continuously put up nicely executed strategic trades? And I kind of show the same thing over and over again. You know what I'm saying? That FNGR trade, the finger motion, this Tupperware trade, the stocks are different, but the patterns are identical. You're seeing. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say that everybody I talk to, mostly everybody loves you, Dan. Like there's so many people in the community, and I think that a lot of my friends came from you. I have people in my messages every single day that come from you, and I have amazing conversations with them. So I see mostly love. And as far as thinking outside of the box or thinking differently than other people, isn't that just healthy to actually get some creative thought going and not just accept the way that everybody has said, okay, get in line, walk behind the guy in front of you,
I would agree 100%. And not only that, Andy, but it also opens you up to a creative flow, which I think otherwise, when you have to work in the bounds of the narrative, and those narrative bounds, now that we see the narrative, we realize how restricting they are. Working outside the mental constraints of the narrative opens you up to a creative flow, which I think you would otherwise never, ever be able to have, visualize, and execute. And that's what we're doing. One of the things I want everyone to pay attention to is at the end of July here, Andy, we're pivoting our website to a completely different experience. And you're going to see it as an experience, not like a sales portal to our software, Trade Ideas Pro, but you're going to see the new Trade Ideas website, and it will be an experience. And Andy, it's going to be so cool. We've never given up on the fact that we still believe we can revolutionize fintech. And we believe that since we started in 2001. And we still believe that because in a lot of ways, when all of the big acquisition stuff happened of all those day trading firms that I talked about, the big acquiring brokers, they destroyed the tech. TD Ameritrade, they bought TradeCast, which was really kind of cool, and where I got some of my interesting idea chops on various things that I would want on a platform, like how you click on things and stuff like that. And now, now they're going to slowly kill off Thinkorswim too. Everything that people like, as soon as it gets acquired, because it's too dangerous. And let me tell you why it's too dangerous, because these platforms that make you see real data, like Trade Ideas, they make you think. You're like, wait a minute. My platform, and I know that it wasn't the only thing that showed this, but certainly it displayed the information that everybody saw when GameStop, right before it exploded up, which was, how can you have 158% short? I'd never seen those. Like by the way, up until GameStop and up until we started seeing it with Trade Ideas, since we are literally like a earthquake or a heartbeat detector in a lot of ways, technologically speaking, as soon as we see volume pushing through, something's on our radar. Now you see it on the races or however else we show. But even back then, we saw it. So when GameStop started to go, we're looking at it and we're like, I, being like a business guy, CEO, I'm talking to my data guys. I'm like, hey guys, I think there's a glitch. Could you see if we can do a round of cleanup? Because in my mind, I never even imagined until 2021 that anything like a synthetic share could even exist. That's how virgin. Well, and by the way, no, I don't want to say virgin. I knew the market was corrupt then. Okay, because I knew what market makers used to do and like how they battled with us SOWS guys and the refresh and all these other things that they would do. Okay, so it was never a fair game, even back then when we sort of almost had weapons that worked. But when I realized what went on with GameStop, it completely shattered my illusions completely in terms of the quotes, the tape, the audit. It is like I can do what's called mental compartmentalization. I know these things, I know how bad they are, but we still operate in this bifurcated world where you still have to live where you live. So we interact with the technology. We help you take advantage of whatever that can be taken advantage of. But at the same time, Andy, it has to be cleaned up by powers beyond us, because you can't have synthetic shares. It seems like the derivative mess, the swaps, and the fact that you've got with AMC, instead of just looking number one at an American company that has a ton of investors who like it, right, which already is great. Then there's like these swaps between APE and AMC, and if one goes up and the other one goes down, what is the purpose of these swaps, and who do they help other than the middlemen, the parasites that are taking advantage of the whole system? Like, there's no point to all this stuff, all these infinite ETF, creations that they do. I want real supply and demand. When we were SOWS bandits, we got a taste of it. Yeah, just a taste. It happened for just a few years. There was a taste. And then, then they brought in the crystal meth that was called the dot-com bubble, where basically everything ran, and that made everybody want to pile into all this shit. They piled in, they lost their ass. And then for over a decade, they just shoved their money to advisors. Here, Schwab, manage my money. Here, Fidelity, manage my money. Everyone, I don't think so. I really got burned in the dot-com bubble. It hurt my woo-woo. Oh no. And you have, in essence, a devolution, mentally speaking, in terms of what technology is, how do you use it in the stock market. And that's why we think the opportunity is so incredible right now, Andy, for us to reshape the experience, because it's just as exciting. And nobody even talks about the fact that interacting with the stock market, whether, by the way, with real money or simulation money, is a form of, you can play chess against the computer. You know what I'm saying? And the computer has all the games. Probably it's going to keep you sharp. It can play at levels that, as a beginner, you probably can't get to. Same thing with the stock market. You can get feedback right away. Are your instincts good or are they bad? And you can keep track of that feedback and trade ideas. And we talk how everybody wants to jump in the stock market, but nobody wants to do any reps of trying to feel, how do you like P&L? Can you handle a swing of 20,000 in a day? How about 200 in a day? What's your number? If you don't have a feel number of what raises your adrenaline, until you know that, you can't even be in the game. And by the way, as your experience in the stock market continues, those numbers change. It used to be like, oh my God, I can't lose more than $200. Now it's like, oh my God, I can't lose more than $200,000. As you evolve, it all changes, but you have to create these feelings. And with trade ideas, we've set it up so that you want to exercise those reps more, whether in practice or real, but we suggest practice. We talk about going to the driving range. Nobody thinks about this. Every professional golfer, the reason they're professional golfers is that they're at the range. They're working on their short game. They're working on their putting. They're working about just the move from the right elbow to the right hip for their drive. And they're just rep it and rep it and rep it. And people are like, hey man, teach me how to trade. Better yet, can you just give me an algorithm and it trades for me? I kind of want to eat lunch. That's a fantasy world, man.
Yeah, I like to catch my own lunch, and I would much rather be able to trade for myself. And the things that you're talking about in the market, I've seen myself. I mean, there's been days like the day that we had the whole market halt, that all the data stopped on all platforms, not just my broker. I'm like, what's going on? But then it stops over. And I don't mean just during the halt. I believe this is the same day, Dan, but there was a day when I was in a trade, and not only it wasn't the time we were halted, but all the data like glitched. And I'm sitting there going, what do I do? What do I do? Because and then when it did come back, the charts aren't working, but the numbers are working. Like only part of it's working. So I mean, there's a lot of things that happen that are like, wow, that's interesting.
I believe the quote providers are the owners of the print, but how those prints are generated and the audit of the print, I think, is very similar to the Fed. I think there's a lot of fiction. I would not be surprised if mutual funds just journal entry and that shit never saw the tape. Honestly, I hate to say it, but knowing what I know now, about the tape and how this off exchange volume shit's going on. What is that bullshit? What is the kind of two-tiered trading system do you have where you got the super dark volume that you can just slide in there and it doesn't affect supply and demand too much at all? It's dark. And why is it that all of a sudden, the market shuts off and all of a sudden stock will gap down $1? What kind of bullshit is that? You can't be like, again, it's like, whoa, if you've got really important access and money, you can trade right now. The market's closed, but come on, you're at a Swiss bank account. We'll just, we'll really give you a really bad price, but since you're so desperate here, execute right now. So I want all that shit gone, Andy. I want them to create rules that everyone that can follow. If you want to be in the market, making supply and demand, show it what it is. And I think if that happens, the economy will be 100x better and higher than it is right now, because I feel like we have a parasitic element in the stock market, in everything, in politics, that's just trying to suck the loosh life energy from within our souls, Andy, the reptilians. You knew the reptilians were going to come. And I don't know if they're actually reptilians or if they look like reptilians. That's not really important. What's important is that they are for sure sucking the life energy out of the realm. Andy, let me tell you this real quick. Imagine Andy trades so well on a straight idea software, gets himself access to a DeLorean time machine, goes 88 miles an hour back to 2006, and starts telling the Andy of 2006 about the genders. You would think that your older you needed mental health. And you would tell your older you to seek it because you sound crazy, older me. What are you talking about, older me? Yes, older you is being attacked by the energy-sucking reptilians who put thoughts into our mind and make people do all sorts of crazy shit.
Well, basically, so here's the thing that I say. If somebody wants to know how price action works, as far as what you're saying, the end that you're talking about here, just go find some leaps somewhere and basically offer liquidity. Okay, so put in your order to sell once you're in the trade, and you will see what happens up there. And then go ahead and put in an order to buy down at the bid, and then you'll see what happens down there. When you're offering liquidity like that, or you're trying to get in anywhere between the spread, you can watch the spread react. You can watch it recoil. You can watch penny stocks recoil. There's a lot of things that where you can see that there is some very intelligent competition. We all know we're in the arena when we're trading, but I don't think a lot of new traders know just how deep it goes when you're trying to get in and out of these positions. That it's just not as simple as just buy and sell. There's so much in so many places where you can encounter slippage, and why is that slippage occurring?
Well, I think part of it, Andy, you're talking about something that's been bothering me a lot for almost 2 decades, and that is that all the limit orders are visible. So let's say you want to get into a position, but not this second, and you put in your buy order to buy above, let's say, the market, or even below the market. It doesn't really matter where you put it. Wherever you put it, the citadels of the world see it. because they're trying to match it with whoever, but it's really not matching. All they're doing is they're getting access to your flow, and through that access, they can then also, if they want to, just move the prices. A lot of times people, what they'll do is they'll put stops where visually it looks like a break of support or resistance. That's a typical thing that's done. It's a comfortable thing. Well, they know that, and they're looking for those stops. And when they see them, they'll just, run a candle up, take the other side, and boom, bring it right back down. And that's easy money for them. They're printing money there. That's like the Fed. So I think all the middlemen need to be gone. It should be a pure system. If it was a real system, it should be pure. Remember, back in the older days, still there was something called an ECN. An ECN is called electronic crossing networks. And when I was a younger man trading, we had the Island ECN, we had Archipelago, we had all these networks, and depending on which one you selected, you could appear, boom, and you're popping up on the level 2 screen as an ECN. So I kind of think like all that should be back, but the right way, where you can place yourself wherever you want in that level 2, and you're competing with, just like Bitcoin. Think about that for a minute. There's not really it's volatile, and I'm not going to get into all the craziness of it, but at the very least, you're buying and selling with other buyers and sellers. Here,
I don't believe that Bitcoin is exactly the same as it was a few years ago, but
I was saying, without getting into the weeds, the idea, at least, right, that decentralized, it's real supply and demand. The stock market is not real supply and demand. That supply and demand is shepherded by Citadel and controlled, really, all the stock flow controlled by BlackRock and Vanguard. They control so much money and invest in virtually every public company. And I think that's kind of stuff that also needs to be cleaned up by us, the voting public, because it's not good to have so much power in such small hands. It needs to be
on one side, though, to play devil's advocate or whatever, no matter how big you are, you should still be able to trade whatever strategy you have. Now the question would be, or the problem would come in, if there's actually something nefarious going on. And a lot of people would say there's definitely something nefarious going on. Others would say absolutely, no, absolutely not. But I think even you would agree that if there was nothing that was like breaking of the rules on their part, no matter how much money they have, they still are entitled to play the same game that we are entitled to play, correct?
Well, I think I'll go back to this. I want there to just be a level playing field between all counterparties. And that goes back to, I don't want the dark volume. I don't want the after hours prints. If there's going to be after hours prints, everybody should be able to trade after hours with the same access as whoever it was that just panicked into that print. I don't want those advantages to be given to the preferred market participants. Why does somebody get to see the limit orders and somebody does not get to see? I think they should, since they're private orders, I think they should be completely on a private server that can only be audited backwards. It's invisible to anybody because these are private orders. It's like pictures of your kids and you're safe. You're not showing them to everybody. So that's how I want the market to be, pure supply and demand. I think it would be incredible for everyone. And I think then you really have an opportunity to profit and create generational wealth if you have good insight. And that's what we share. Andy, going back to the Tupperware trade, 3 days ago, this thing was at 65 cents where I bought it. And I'm going to pull it up on the screen for me just to see.
While you're pulling that up, maybe later while you're doing it, you could touch on exactly what is a SOWS Bandit. Because when I first heard you, I think it was around the time you made the Friday Freaky podcast and all that. I don't know if you remember any of that, but then you had talked about this SOWS Bandit, and I just thought that that's freaking awesome that you got to be there. You got to, and you even sent me a news clip. So if you want to talk about that, well, that'd be awesome.
Well, I was just, I was covered when I was younger in some Texas papers about my success as a active investor, and the SOWS system was an accident. That's what makes it so cool. It was a response to the 1987 crash, and as usual, by the time it actually got activated and by the time you could interact with it, probably 3 years had passed. So it was 1990, 89, 90, 91 are the formational years of SOWS, and SOWS stood for Small Order Execution System, SOES. And the small order in those days was 1,000 shares, which means that if you were quoting, like if you were Goldman Sachs and you had a quote on the offer, you had to be good for 1,000 to even get on the offer. That was the bare minimum. And what that meant was, because they didn't want you to go away from the market, like in 1987, when people were trying to sell, market makers just left. And they didn't know how to do synthetic shares back then. They've learned much better now, but totally different story. But in order to have people not just run away from quotes, if you're posting a quote, you have to be good for 1,000 shares. Okay. And somebody could press the SOWS button and execute. It's called hitting the bid or taking the offer. If you hit a market SOWS buy or a market SOWS sell, you instantly, like you press the button, you hit that market maker for the 1,000 shares, you were long, and he was instantly short, unless he was trying to, unless he was actually a natural seller. But otherwise, you are there competing for market making moves. So we would be watching the futures, and if the futures started to run, we could, you would hear all the brokers screaming, load to buy Intel at market. And you would even do we got things like monster orders where you could give a price that's 25% above the best offer price. And then your order, because you were so aggressively wanting the stock, mathematically would be put first. So there's this whole side code language of, I want to buy Intel at market, load the offer 25% and go. This whole, and there would be just screaming. And to some extent, it was even maybe like a craps table when it gets hot, in Vegas, it had that kind of energy to it. As people would join, you could see as your SOWS Bandit friends start hitting the offer, you could see that, it decrementing, and you're like, okay, offer out, at the next. So you want to be the first guy on the next quarter. Again, you're just learning how it all works, but you could see that you were there. It was real. Whereas now, in this world of synthetics and derivative swaps and credit default swaps, they made a gigantic mess of the market that we, the apes, the retail investors, are slowly cleaning up, because we're never going away. We want to interact with the stock market on a level playing field. We don't want a two-tier stock market system, and it's worse than that now. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. But we just fight, every day, different time, take out the sword and back into battle. That's what we do.
See, that's the thing. It's like we have to participate in whatever arena is offered right now, and that's one of the things that I think is so awesome. You touched on it earlier, how you said basically practice like a champion. Practice like you're going in the NBA, the NHL. Like you are at the top of your game, and I mean, take this really seriously. And then one of the other really cool things that I've heard you say is practice paper trading. Don't just get in there, and if you can't succeed paper trading, you probably shouldn't be trading.
I do both still. And again, I just want to say, think about a professional golfer. Okay. A professional golfer, if you were going to compare a professional golfer to a wannabe professional trader, the way a professional golfer mimicking a professional trader today would be, the professional wannabe golfer would only play rounds of golf and never go to the range. Can you imagine only just playing rounds of golf never going to the range. Well, you're going to learn very quickly from playing those rounds of golf. Guess what you're going to learn? That you suck. And you know why you suck? You've never practiced the proper stuff. And a lot of people might have not told you the proper technique, or you actually really have to find your own technique, right? But you can't do that without the reps. And so what we say is like, I am often practicing what I want to do with the real money. I'm just working out on an account in Brokerage Plus from Trade Ideas Pro. You can set up a bunch of different accounts. I have live IB account. I have my Schwab account that I post on Twitter. But of course, you can set up simulated accounts and practice, and get feedback. And I'm checking on the equity, and I'm seeing, okay, I see like sometimes I can make a lot of money like I did today in that Tupperware trade. But in terms of my success for the day, I was only 50-50. Just that one of these trades was so big that it's looking fantastic. But this is the kind of stuff that you have to know, that on these fantastic days, you might only be batting 50%.
We got a question from Born to Be Free here. It says, Dan, have you ever considered leading a lobby effort to get your thoughts listened to?
My goodness, I think to some extent Twitter is the way I do it. I spend a lot of time shedding what I believe is knowledge and truth on Twitter. I talk about timelines, the stock market. Although I'm a very active CEO in fintech, I am an ape. I am in every one of the meme stocks, every single one. Why am I in all of them? Because I know that the MOAS, which is the mother of all short squeezes, has to happen because the hedge funds never covered anything. They don't do that. That's just not, it's kind of like the serpent, the scorpion being asked, why did you sting me? It's in my nature. The proverb. So the hedge funds can't say they got beaten by apes and Melvin Capital. No. They credit default, swap, rolled that shit up into every 20 other Cayman Island corpse on Kenny Griffin's bought but not yet sold $500 trillion liability, some ridiculous shit. That's what's going on.
Well, before we get too far away from what you were saying before, though, one of the things that I wanted to say also, that Trade Ideas has done an amazing job. You provide that room with Barry. Barry is, very professional, and he just teaches you without charging anything, man. He tells you exactly what he's thinking. So many people in the room also share their knowledge, and there's a lot of education that you guys have provided as well. But I just maybe want to bring up a story that I'd never golfed before in my life, and I finally told my cousin, hey, let's stop at the driving range, Top Golf, I believe it was. And when I went, it just so happens that there was a professional golfer right next to us. I didn't know he was a professional golfer, and I just started doing my thing, and I totally missed, and I sucked. I couldn't even get this thing to do anything I wanted it to do. He then tells me, hold it like this. He stops us and starts telling me, and put it by your front foot. Okay, make sure that arm doesn't bend, and all these things. And as I was doing this, he's like, no, you bent on this one. You did this. Within a very short amount of time, Dan, I was hitting it out 200 yards, straight out. And I'm just like amazed. I was really sore, because I didn't realize golf is quite so strenuous.
After all, yeah.
That's pretty athletic after all. But yeah, I mean, it just having somebody there and having a place to do that. And what you're providing is a place to do that. You're providing not only that, but you're showing how you do it as well.
Yeah, we've said often we're kind of like the Top Golf / driving range of the stock market. And we're baffled and humorously entertained by how many people come to us asking us for the goose that laid the golden egg. Instead of, hey, what should I do to get better? It's like, how can I have free money? And I'm like, guys, we answer this all the time. We're like, if your instinct is that ChatGPT is going to write you an algorithm that's going to give you a system that makes money for free, if you think that can exist, wow. Before you get the Trade Ideas, lots of other people will take your money. So we're already, I'm already not going to see you. But I do always want to communicate. The stock market is challenging just because that's the nature of the game. You're competing with other people for what you think the flow is. Golf is challenging because lots of other people can connect with the ball. Surfing, how many times you ever tried to surf in Florida, Andy? I mean, I'm sure you've probably given it a couple of.
No, I'm a complete poser right now. Have not.
That's right. But like when you're learning how hard it is to get up. I mean, surfing is one of the most frustrating sports because I mean, by the time you get out there past the breakers, right? You're beat, and then the set comes, you miss it, you're back to where you started before, nothing happened, and you're like, okay, here we go again. So with trading, it's the same thing. You gotta get in there first, practice just interacting with stock prices and getting percentage points. Try to accumulate percentage points. That's a big thing that we're doing with our website. Percentage point accumulation games. Big thing coming. We think that there's incredible opportunity to play those games right through our technology and help you feel the market. The market can't be just like systematized and digitized. It's got to be felt. It's not about not having emotion. It's about controlling your emotion. It's be able to know that sometimes, first of all, your fear is a great asset. You're about to buy this thing and it looks so good to you, but all of a sudden, like, wait a minute. That's your subconscious saying, hold your horses. Now you can be like, oh, stupid subconscious. Or you can be like, thank you. Maybe I'll pause a little bit and learn to trust these things. That happens to me all the time. Like, by the way, on that Tupperware trade, there wasn't any hesitation. Like I looked at it like, Andy, I'm going back to the daily chart where it was, let's see, where did this thing? I got it on the 23rd, I think, or 24th. And it was at 65 cents. But my downside looked like 55. Like if it broke down to 55 cents, just take a look at it real quick. Like somewhere around the 23rd of or so of June. No, June? Hold on a second. I'm squinting at my own screen. Yeah. And so the risk, that big line where it was starting to consolidate, at the very, very low end of the price. Yeah, it just looked so tight that, we completely said to myself, why not give it a try and get out on all-time lows? And then this happened.
It's basically, I would have my trade ideas charts up here, guys, but I tried to log in and I fumbled on that. But anyways, guys,
we don't mind. Come on, Andy. We love competition.
Okay,
Whatever happened to Dan? That's what I want to know.
One of the, hold on, let me remove this. Dan, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is, okay, so you talk about the like the Melvin Capital and all this, and how you'd like to have the tape audited. I agree with you. I think that it should be sort of like blockchain, to where it's all
open
just
source audit of the tape.
There should not be anything that's like a mystery. And then, anything that goes through, no matter what exchange, it should go through in real time and everybody should be able to see exactly what's going through. There shouldn't be, hidden orders and all that going on. But basically, what do you do knowing that you have these extra hurdles to go through in order to manage your portfolio and continue to grow?
Okay, great question. I love this question. And I'm going to answer it with Tupperware. And what I'm saying by that is that even in the craziest of the crazy market, where there's the most corruption you've ever seen, there are still moves like Tupperware, where it's not like it's not like that glitch print or some sort of halt. Something's going on. You can still catch it. And you can look at the volume. If you look at the volume, 209 million trading 30 times the normal that this is trading. By the way, I exited plus 17,000 on this trade. one, very nice one for myself. And what I say there is focus on what you can relate to, right, Andy? And I can relate to Tupperware because I do it. I can relate to Finger because I do it. There's still an immense of opportunity. That opportunity will only grow once the market gets cleaner and better and we deal with real supply and demand. But it isn't purely run by the bad guys, and there's still opportunities, and it's the best that we've got. I'd rather still be in the U.S. market than anywhere else. Just has to be clean.
For me, pretty much, I mean, knowing what I know, my whole thing with trading at first wasn't to make a lot of money. It was to act. I like to know how things work, so I wanted to know how the market worked, how these orders went through, and was there things like front running you'd hear rumors of, or any of these things that you just hear all these rumors about. And throughout all the things that I've learned in my trading, I have learned that I need a bulletproof portfolio. Because this is the Wild West out here. This is not the easiest place to just go. You're not just going to go grab some money. It's not going to happen. You're against the smartest, the best, the strongest, and who knows what else can be happening in there. But I mean, I learned to take more of a portfolio approach. But I wake up and I have my winners that are absorbing my losers every single day now. And it's anytime that I would go in here and put a huge amount of shares into any play that was just moving, like too much blood in the water, it would be a bad day for me. So it all starts with like just risk management and making sure that, market exposure is not exorbitant, ridiculous, stuff like that.
Well, I think are talking about something very important, which is your own comfort level. You're going to have your own comfort level. I'm going to have my own comfort level. And we all have to work within those constraints. In golf, once again, there's an amazing saying, and it's called play within yourself. If you can hit the ball naturally farthest out of all your friends, play that way. But if you can't, then still there's lots of ways you can approach the game and win, strategically, without having to try stuff where you're uncomfortable. So what you're talking about there is knowing when should I, and it's like the serpent. When are you in the lineup? Are you in the lineup, or are you waiting for another set? And I think in this particular case, you're saying the way you've been seeing stuff right now, you're not seeing a lot of forward progress. And that is an awesome insight, because that lets you know that at this particular stage, this is not the time to like go all in, let's say, right? That's not the, and so you won't, and you will preserve yourself. But when you start feeling comfortable again, you will add size, because again, you're comfortable because you're being rewarded for the comfort. That's typically how it works. And the stock market will do that. And that's why I share, my portfolio where I'm in the meme stocks. And, one of the things, Andy, that I learned that is counterintuitive, but I think you'll understand it when I'm saying, remember I told you that everything that they told us was a lie. They often preach about portfolio diversification. And, now lately diversity has been shoved down everyone's throat. But do you realize that the real billionaires, the real winners, don't win with diversification? They win with concentration. Bill Gates owned Microsoft. Steve Jobs owned Apple primarily. Michael Dell owned Dell Computer. Larry Ellison owned Oracle. One thing. That's how they became super rich. That stuff ran, and they made immense amount of money. When you're diversified, you're guaranteed average. They don't really tell you that because, again, they don't tell you shit in school that they should. I always thought mutual funds is like getting on a bus. They ain't going to be no winner. Everyone's arriving at the same time. That's not how Trade Ideas rolls. And I don't think that's how your life should roll. Not that there's not a need or a certain time to take a bus. I'm not against that, but I'm just saying, as an existential metaphor, that's not the way you want to be in the stock market. The stock market is where you ride waves, and I showed you like Tupperware. Sometimes those waves come when you don't expect it, you don't know it, but the only way to participate is try. That's what I do. I try them. I don't win all the time, but if I don't try, then you definitely are not going to be in Tupperware and make $17,000 in a few days.
Yeah, well, as far as that goes for me, the comfort level is basically position size that I can afford to lose. Not taking 100% or even 50% of my account and putting it into any random play, even if it is a good idea,
No, of
because
course.
just that one time and everything's all messed up. But one of the things you had mentioned is you had backed off of active trading. I wanted to know, with your business, have you ever had your trading mess up your mindset to where you felt it got in the way of the business?
No. And I'll tell you why. Because I think unless I'm in the game, I can't feel empathetically towards my customers and relate to various stages of their journey, from experiencing the data that we're trying to communicate, to committing to opening an account, to subscribing, to getting the software, then getting information from that software, and ultimately taking action, that's the whole connecting the dots with trade ideas. I don't think I could do that unless I felt the good and the bad from trade ideas. So I continue to trade. I mean, I'm not, nowadays it's impossible for me. I have 3 kids and the business, it's impossible for me to trade actively like I used to when I was younger. I'm probably, in terms of shares traded, I'm probably one of the largest because I'm still in the game, having never stopped. There's just few people that gone from the mid 90s and continued all the way to now. And since, like that, to me, the best marketing I can do is to lead by example. And I said that before. I put my money where my tweets go. I put my flat earth where my tweets go. I give you everything out there and I show you, and I ask you to ask yourself a simple question. Would you want to subscribe to a product that's made by a team that's using the product, or by a team of professionals? I mean, and wait, either one could be fine for you potentially, but to an active trader who wants to put themselves in the trenches, you would think that you would want a product that was made by people who are not only have been in the trenches, but continue to this day. I don't think there's
Right. Reminds me of what they said in the military: lead from the front, not from the rear. You want somebody who's willing. It's not necessarily that the general has to be up on the front lines, getting shot at with the guys, but it is that he has to be willing to. He can't, he has to be willing to take any position and know and understand how it works, and not just be in some office with air conditioning.
Right.
It
cannot be ceremonial. But so to me, what I think makes trade ideas and the experience we bring to the table so valuable to our subscribers is all the pain that we have inculcated in feeling the experience of mistakes that we have made trading. And we try to that way give you technology, again, like the race technology, Andy. If anybody is paying attention, go Google trade ideas, race view, stock racing. It is the biggest leap in terms of momentum detection that has been done in, I would say, 15 years. And it's because, like I said before, it's because momentum can really be gauged from your point of looking. Once you start looking, only then, not the 30 minutes before where something random, look how amazing it looks now. No, now it's at 0.0 because you're about to either get in or not get in, and you need to pick one that hopefully still has that momentum. And that's what our technology shows you better than anything out there.
Well, if you don't mind, Dan, I just have to put out here that out of all the platforms that I've used, and I'm not trying to say anything bad about other platforms or any of my friends and the stuff that they're providing, but you've had the most reliable data. I think that your data has been more reliable than my broker's at times. So I like to have your product going in case something goes wrong with my broker. And then the strategies that you guys have, and the fact that you listen to your customers and you're always putting new strategies into your product, new ways of looking at the market. Like you said, you're coming up with something right now that I can't wait to try out myself. But trade ideas, guys, like I could start up a room and start charging tomorrow. I've been in a room before, and I did my stream every day. And I could start that up tomorrow and probably get paid pretty good money by simply just because your product makes me look so good.
I really appreciate that, Andy. I really appreciate that. We've tried really hard, and it's funny. We sometimes even have to talk to people because they're displaying our data for free. There's a lot of that going on, and the exchanges get all upset. But it is the data dashboard. We can just do more with all that fast data. That's, I would say, if you're giving somebody the elevator pitch, we're the best at streaming data manipulation, the best by far. And as we pivot to this new version of our website, which again, just keep your eyes out. Obviously, I'll tell you when we do shifts on your Twitter, it's going to be an experience. It's going to be a magical ride of fintech, and only the beginning of it too, because we have to cut off a bunch of stuff for making the deadline, but so much stuff is in the works that I think is going to transform the stock market and make everybody want to participate the way we think they should for themselves.
Well, your product, you have AI, Holly, in your product. You have several AIs now.
Yeah.
But anyway, this morning I was listening to a podcast, and the guy had said, I was listening to several podcasts on AI, and they said basically, if I see any of my employees 6 months down the road and they're not looking into AI, at least I'm going to look at them sideways. If within a year they haven't applied and started using AI to better, their selves, they should be looking for a job. And, it got me thinking that somebody like you, if you start utilizing AI, which sure, you are, but anyways, if you're going to somebody else's AI and you're trying to get your answers there, you're also contributing your thoughts to that AI. So this it sort of seems like a double-edged sword, like it can come back on us a little bit.
I like your thought process, Andy, because you touched upon something critical about the AI and why Trade Ideas has an AI advantage. So AI is just a way to process information. Like for example, you can give ChatGPT the Bible, it could read it, and then it should be able to, through reading it very quickly, answer lots of sort of basic questions, not maybe deep, metaphorical or allegorical, but certainly like in John, da 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 da, what was that? And it can tell you, well, in John, da 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 da, this happened, and so on and so forth. It's the data. Trade Ideas, what makes us different from TrendSpider and lots of other people is that we have this incredible database of our own data that we create. The 2-minute highs, the 2-minute positioning ranges, the various different time scale ranges and volume snapshots. So an AI can go into our data and have more data and more opportunity to learn to use that data and see if it can make sense out of it. That's the Trade Ideas advantage.
I see the advantage. Like I said, I mean, anytime that I'm trying to provide value to other traders as well as myself, Trade Ideas is definitely one of the products that I want to have there with me, helping me to know exactly. I don't miss a thing. That's the only product that I can tell you right now, other than when you guys were in E-Trade and Schwab, I believe, right?
Yeah.
That was you asked me early on, like where I'd found you guys. Like it just blew my mind that you guys are in E-Trade, you guys are in all these brokers, you guys basically everywhere. So
yeah, Charles Schwab did a really cute, not Schwab, sorry, Roger Romney from Scottrade did a really good commercial with us back in the day where he was in a helicopter. I think I posted it on your feed, but if not, I will when we're done. It was really cute, and that was back in the day when the brokers were trying to help their customers. And then Ken Griffin came in and the brokers said, okay, just everybody line up and bleed. So, but we are not, again, we're not disheartened. We think it's the greatest time to be alive right now. I think if you cannot see the incredible opportunity that's taking place all around you, people are starting to wake up. Part of what I love is that people are seeing the things that we've been talking about, the fact that the apes saw the corruption and were able to open source audit the tape and see the Cayman Island corpse that Citadel has. All this is out there. It's all, already there. And we know that the justice system is messed up because saying Beckman-Fried today, what happened? All charges dropped. Come on.
That's ridiculous.
So if people are talking bullshit to us about, oh my God, Andy, you had that conspiracy guy Dan out there, talking all this shit. They just dropped all the charges on Sam Bankman-Fried. Come on, man. Right in front of your face, they're doing it. So I'm simply saying, you don't want to bring a knife to a gunfight, and then in the stock market, it's definitely a gunfight. And trade ideas is your gun. It's your weapon. And by the way, again, that's why there's like two ways you can do it, or not two ways, but consider these different ways you can do it. You can go the mainstream narrative way, where you're long Meta, Amazon, Nvidia, Microsoft, Tesla, and by the way, that can work. Because look where that's why FANG, right? Netflix, Amazon, Facebook. The FANGs were everything for over a decade. And if you held the narrative play, you prospered quite a bit. There was volatility, certainly, but you prospered. Then there's like the meme play. And the meme play is that these guys are fucking us and we're taking the other side and we want that play. Then there's the active trading play, which is, you know what? I see all sorts of interesting momentum. I'm going to try this, try that, but I'm still going to hold my cash so that if shit hits the fan, I got my cash. And I'm just saying that, by the way, everybody, there's no reason not to do a lot of that at the same time. That's what I do. I'm not against trading the big techs. I'm in the memes because I cannot not be in the memes. If I miss the mother of all short squeezes in Earth history, the flat Earth realm history of humanity, if I missed the mother of all short squeezes, I would be very upset with myself, Andy. I would be so mad at myself I could not forgive myself. And therefore, I'm in all of them. Diversified heavily into AMC, Ape, GameStop, Rumble, which, by the way, I'm not giving any investment advice, but holy shit, does Rumble look good. And by the way, I watched that too. It's not like, I'm just saying, sort of like the old school shit where I'm on it and I'm checking it out. It's really good content. This thing, I think, is going to be big because, there's a whole shitload of antitrust stuff that's going to hit Google and ultimately YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. I think the Elon stuff on Twitter, that's also very interesting. My original at Trade Ideas one still banned because I'm a little too controversial, but I've been much calmer now lately.
Okay, I got to ask. Well, first I want to say this. You guys, if you guys want to stick around, and Dan, if you want to stick around, basically you just go with the BS however you want at this point. I appreciate everything that you brought so far, and I'm sure that you're going to bring more value if you do choose to stick around and talk a little more. But guys, might get political, might talk about anything. Talk about whatever you want, Dan.
Well, no, we don't. It's not so much about getting political. Everyone knows, I'm a Trump supporter, conservative. I actually like saying that on Twitter because if you look around Twitter world, I'm the only one. Once again, the only one doing it, and there's no other fintech that is allowed to say that they're conservative, MAGA supporting, Trump supporting Republican, or I don't even say Republican, just MAGA and Trump supporting patriot. That's what I am. That's what most of the management is in Trade Ideas. Not all, many. And I put that out on Twitter, and people are like, "Oh my God, you're so stupid. I can't believe you're doing that." And I think it's the other way around. I think more and more people see it. They're like, well, at least that guy's has some balls. He's not afraid to tell people how he thinks. And I think people should appreciate that, because having the balls to tell people the truth about who you support or who you don't support is part of the same mechanics of placing a trade. You have to, because people are going to tell you, don't do it. Don't trade. It's too complicated. You're going to lose all this negative shit that's going to be thrown at you. You have to put that all away, focus, and press the button, or not. But I'm saying that's the process.
Basically, I started out, seeing all these things going wrong that you've brought up often, And I've even talked to you about it in messages in the past. It's like it's pretty bad out there. And it's shocking when I have people that I've talked to for a really long time and they hear any of my views that would line up with conservative values or anything, MAGA, Trump, anything, that they're like, Andy, I can't believe that you would possibly stand up for gun rights or something. It's like, well, first of all, that I was in the military. So I should have gave you a little hint. But I've lost too many friends but everything was great. We had an amazing friendship. You get to one issue where they're so hardlined against it, and it's all in the toilet, man.
Well, for me, and this is the funny one, it's really flat Earth. People just can't believe that I'm a flat earther. And they think I'm crazy. And I love it. I do. It's a Rumble, by the way, Trader 77 was saying great conspiracy stuff, but really it's great research stuff. It's not being censored. One of the other things, Andy, if we run down the rabbit hole, is I found out about the timeline. And, is this really 2023? That's another whole interesting rabbit hole. And where the cities like New York and Paris and London, I think they were all already here. And there was a big reset right around the late 1800s. And who the hell knows what was going on before then? Looks like a civilization that was more advanced than we are now, put it to you that way. So I find that incredibly fascinating, and the truth wants to be found. That's why I'm into all this. And to me, it's not conspiracy, it's just research. I found so many holes in the narrative that I just don't buy any of it. Now that it's like follow the money. Again, that's right. Trader 77 is correct.
One of the things about the whole flat earth thing, and I grew up, my mom forcing me to go to church, and one of the first things that I can't tell you what it exactly says, but one of the things that I remember learning was the Bible said something about Jerusalem being the center of the universe, right? So then when I went to school and I started learning about this globe that's spinning and the axis, and then it's spinning around the sun, and I'm like, well, how is it staying in the center? Because I believe that to be true first, and then whatever comes after that, that has to align there,
There's so much. It's funny. Everybody starts off not being a flat earther, but if you really go through the exercise, the mental exercise of trying to debunk the globe Earth, or try to debunk flat Earth, how about that? Then you realize it's impossible to do. But again, it's not for everybody. I'm just sharing that we're in this incredible timeline where things are being discovered. And again, these things are, whether it's where we live, the stock market, I think, Andy, I'll be honest with you, I believe they have all the cures. They have it all. I think the tech that they have is 100 to 200 years ahead of what we have now. And when I say they, I'll be honest, I don't know exactly who they are. They're just not you and me. But have you ever noticed, like, let me tell you something funny, but just as a businessman, contemplate this for a second. All of a sudden, everybody went on this crazy electric car pivot, the whole auto industry, right? Why did they not just go to miles per gallon improvement? That there's already been so many. I mean, you got the gas stations there. Theoretically speaking, if you can make an engine burn, like, let's say 1,000 miles a gallon, you're putting out so much less of the stuff into the air anyways, but you haven't destroyed all the natural elements for the lithium batteries, and you didn't have to redo everything. I'm just saying, it never made sense to me how you couldn't go miles per gallon, because that shit stayed rock solid. Like, not $1 was put into that. And I was like, okay, let's go electric. And come on, man.
Well, I mean, the main thing is it's not greener. The cobalt mines, I think you and Steve have shared that. It's just, And then solar panels are not these perfect, green thing that everybody makes them out to be. There's a downside to all of it. And the problem is we can't have that conversation. Just like, nobody wants to have the conversation about flat earth or just anything that can possibly challenge the status quo.
They want the status quo. But we are, one of the things, Andy, that we're doing our part in here is we're helping people be independent thinkers in the stock market. The stock market is one of the things that breaks the status quo. It did for me when I told you about the SOWS Bandit. When I'm 22 years old, 23 years old, thinking about, do I go in the accounting business? That's my degree, make my 35 grand. There's a guy sitting next to me, made 20 grand in like 10 minutes. I'm like, wait a minute. This wasn't taught to me in school. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, school wants you to come out there and get your job and there's a path. And so trading frees you from that, because you also start sensing how the world reacts to stuff. I was in it so long. I had the incredible experience of seeing the dot-com bubble, the Mexican default, all these crazy things happen, including 2008. And had trade ideas all through it, made it through some of the most difficult times. And I think we're way better for it, and just kind of, Andy, excited to bring this new technology that's about to be released to market. I think that's what I want to conclude with here. I'm so stoked that everybody got to listen and you had me on. And follow me on at Trade Ideas on Twitter. It's worth your time. I put up some amazing stuff, and I think vastly.
Dan, I really appreciate you coming and joining us. If I could finish with one thing, though, I wanted to basically touch on this. I met a lady at the zoo, I don't know, at least 5 years back or so. And she just, we didn't give her any inkling as to what we thought politically or anything, but she started talking, and she got into her really, really far left, aggressive, militant far left, ideas. And as she was talking to us, she thought that we were exactly in her team. And I mean, like, I think that the team that everybody should be on is a thinking for yourself when it comes to all issues. There shouldn't just be you're going to be on this team or this army and this team and this army. I think that we need to think for ourselves. But one of the things that she told us is that me and my wife and her, we have to we have to go after them every way we can now, she said. And that we have to basically get into their institutions, get into their churches, get into their politics, be a Republican if you're not a Republican, be everything. And she said that basically take all stops out now, that this is the time to push harder than ever. This was, like I said, this is like 5 years ago at least.
A very common communist Marxist tactic. This has been used. It ain't the first rodeo, as they say, of that tactic. Infiltration is the best, and you can shift it from the inside, and all of a sudden they're trying to teach our kids that they can change their gender. I mean, it's tough enough being a kid already, and they're making it. I mean, that's stuff that really gets me, because I have 3 children, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine, being in this environment where those are the things that they have to even contend with.
Well, this is the greatest comment to end this with, though. We all bleed the same color except for the lizard people.
That is correct. They bleed purple?
Yeah, I don't know, but my main point in bringing that up, though, is just that, I don't want to unwittingly bat for the wrong team. My team is freedom, and whatever is going to increase that around the world and in this country, and that's where I stand, and that's why I signed up for the military. I signed up for the people that disagree with me, probably more so than anything else, because this country is beautiful with the fact that we can disagree and we can still live, and we can look at core issues and understand those are core. And then, we can worry about the fringe later. But, it's just.
Andy, I agree with you 100%. That's why we are now working so hard to make America great again.
Well, that's a great place to leave it, Dan. And if you want to come back and talk anytime, man, I appreciate it, Dan.
We'll for sure coordinate. We'll do something 100%. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, Dan. Thank you guys so much for taking your time, especially an hour and a half almost here. But have a good night, Dan. I look forward to talking to you again.
Okay, take care, Andy. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Ordered, Phil. Check us out.
You know what time it is.
This is the Mighty Soldiers exclusive.
Yeah. Let's get it. Let's get it. If you wanna take it to the streets, let's get it. If you wanna take it to the booth, let's get it. I'm about to take it to the top, let's get it. We ain't never ever gonna stop, let's get it. You ain't never heard nobody spit like this. Call the paramedics when I get like this. Front page news when I wreck like this. Hop in the booth and I wreck that shit like,
If you with the squad, then you already know what's up. It be going down, but my account is going up. I'm about to make another 100,000 bucks. Rolling up that chain, I'm about to take another puff.
Hold up. I made a killing, now my pockets got swollen. Independent, now I'm taking over. I'm a lot richer, you a lot broker. I'm a pot smoker, stockbroker, blowing up like a supernova. On my mama, I was born a soldier, the best in the game, man. I thought I told you. If you wanna take it to the streets, let's get it. If you wanna take it to the booth, let's get it. I'm about to take it to the top, let's get it. We ain't never ever gonna stop, let's get it. You ain't never heard nobody spit like this. Call the paramedics when I get like this. Front page news when I wreck like this. Hop in the booth and I wreck that shit like, I am unstoppable, I can do anything I ever wanted to. Never did anything they ever wanted me to. Got on my side and I'm not gonna lose and they're not gonna win. I see them, the haters, it's salty cause I'm getting dollars again. Commas on commas on commas, I'm buying the dip. The market is dropping again. I can see him hating from the sideline. If you see a hater, tell him bye-bye. Watch my money grow, 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 grow. And my wifey like, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa! Somebody better stop me cause there ain't no competition and I'm coming for the top position. Obliterating the opposition every time that I jot it in the composition. Everybody wanna stop and listen cause I bring it to you hotter than the oven in your mama kitchen. I'll be getting here like a politician. I'ma get bread when you stack looking taller than Scottie Pippen. Ain't nobody ready for the Armageddon when I pop the clip and I ain't playing. I'm spraying you brain, I'm bringing the pain like Damon Wayne. You disappear like David Blaine. I'm dropping bombs, Saddam Hussein. Stop and aim, pop you lames and pop champagne. I ain't playing so stop the games, you know the name. If you wanna take it to the streets, let's get it. If you wanna take it to the booth, let's get it. I'm about to take it to the top, let's get it. We ain't never ever gonna stop, let's get it. You ain't never heard nobody spit like this. Call the paramedics when I get like this. Front page news when I wreck like this. Hop in the booth and I wreck that shit like, Yeah. 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 Alright, man, I'm out.